really was formed when there was an assessment right after the May 2010 elections at the Manila Polo Club, where there were two very serious reports by the Philippine Computer Society regarding the non-implementation of the safeguards for an automated elections, and the report of the professionals who came as election observers. We were also concerned about those very serious things that happened in the 2010 elections. However, mainstream media was suppressing it, and there was no reaction from the citizenry over such very serious breach of the law. So, Tanggulang Demokrasya was formed to support these very serious allegations about the 2010 elections. And that was in June 2010, and to this day, these have not been addressed. There have been a lot of cases filed. It's 3 years, and the worst part is it happened again in 2013. So I think we really have to step up our efforts so it doesn't happen in 2016. That's why we are here, and we are very grateful for the IT. We are grateful to the community scientists, the math community who did the analysis. So today is very specific to something that has to be explained. We all understand that very technical breach of the law again that happened in 2013, because as you may have noticed, all our efforts since 2010 has been met with stonewalling, trivializing, name-calling. So I think this has no place in our democracy. So we have to keep at what we're doing, and thank you for coming, and we have to really put all our energies and our resolve together. So hopefully what we will hear today is one more issue that the public has to know and must be acted upon. So thank you and welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ado Paglinawan, and I wish to welcome you in behalf of our host, Tanggulang Demokrasya. Tanggulang Demokrasya was born in 2010 out of the passion of founding chairperson Evelyn Kilaiko for meaningful reform, and it is of no wonder that it has networked with advocacies like Conscientiang Filipino, whose leader Tess Baltasar now serves as tandem managing director. I met Evelyn during my College Editors Guild in the late 60s, when even as a young student in Iloilo, she was already an enlightened citizen. I joined Tess sometime in 1998 to campaign with other friends for clean, honest, and transparent exercise of our right to vote. And how many administrations have it been? But Tess, Evelyn, and all of us here believe that the absolute sovereignty in our democracy rests in the citizens of the state, and we believe the government only exercises derivative sovereignty that may from time to time be delegated to it by the people through elections. And that is why we hold sacrosanct that public office is a public trust. This is the reason for this press and social media briefing. If there was something about the recent election that was genuinely remarkable, it was how the gatekeepers of information, notably the professional columnists, shared the conviction that election is a baseline institution in our democracy. Political hues could separate many of our opinion makers in the past, but when it came to demanding a credible election, there was an almost universal conviction that COMELEC was not doing its job properly, and that the constitutional body was probably more motivated by some other things besides a healthy democracy. In the 2013 elections, opinion and editorial writers hummed harmoniously with social media in fiscalizing the arrogance of COMELEC, if I may borrow a word from Rene Asurin here, and took it to task to perform its duty for the common good. It was exercise of freedom of expression and freedom of the press at a proud moment. Now we are in the era of automation. Are we using it to upbuild our democracy or to destroy it? Republic Act 8436 was passed in December 1997, but it was much later with Republic Act 9369 on March 2010 that it was enabled with a budget sponsored by Senator Dick Gordon that made us all happy. In Washington, D.C., where I worked as a diplomat, and where my family now lives, my friends in the embassy row and in U.S. government circles and officialdom, active or retired, congratulated me for what they thought was the best law in the world, combining the strengths of automation and manual audit. Yes, there is also a lot of election fraud in the U.S., so they knew a good law when they saw one. But the birthing greatness of Republic Act 9369, or the automated election system law, will perish as early as before it could even walk on its own. Because they have immunity, criminals in public service would collapse the laws, minimum required safeguards, to make sure their partners and cooperators in the private underworld continue to perpetuate the evil trade of cheating elections that has been in the Philippines since time immemorial. COMELEC, like most of government, has now turned into big business. To make money out of fraud is the only motive our public officials mangle our democratic institutions. I once served Emmanuel Pelaez, a former vice president and ambassador of this country who is known to be the best president we never had. One day I asked him, how do we stop political dynasties? He said, quote, take out pork barrel, and those rich parents will no longer send their spoiled bastards to run for Congress to build their own treasures. For which powerful family would send their scions to become public servants? I am now 65 and still pining for clean, honest, and transparent elections. I even discovered another contemporary in the CEG of the 1960s and early 70s here. the genesis of how Tanggulang Demokrasya collaborated with AES Watch and other civil society organizations in organizing a technical working group, or TechWorks, as we call it, is clearly explained in the handout. A USB of the charts here discussed will also be given the press and the blog watchers. When Ernie de Rosario, Lex Muga, and I separately discovered what is now commonly referred to as 60-30-10, one of my early theories was similar to what the law of large numbers creates, but never in acceptance of the application of said law. However, my theory thought of a conundrum of numbers and formulae aggravated by a diverse world of human manipulation that just confused the machines, and I called it the revenge of the machines. I was being cute, of course, and because of that, one of the biggest broadsheets ran a very long quote of my statements, but on page 17, while it gave credence in its front pages on Chairman Brillantes' expertise at verbal engineering to make variances out of discrepancies. I am thankful for the support civil society accord TechWorks for sending us some of their members to assist us, not just in math and information technology, but in public information, legal service, as well as logistics. Through this resource sharing, we hope we can ultimately educate COMELEC in giving our citizens more respect for their votes, and in one day restore to our people, especially the poor, their long-stolen sovereignty. What we unearthed since the end of May would not dispute the law of large numbers, would not present and in fact frustrate sharp peaks and valleys, characteristic of how the Philippines traditionally votes according to ethnic preferences and geographic distances. In fact, it would not disprove a national 60-30-10 canvas. That was what frustrated us. You know, at this point, I might be going ahead of my agenda, so I am at this point supposed to call the anchor man, but it would seem that due to the many sleepless nights that we had to prepare for this session, my three technical IT and computer experts are either still on their way here on sick bed or cannot make it. And so the show must go on. But really, hindi po kami dito ang bida. Ang bida dito yung makikita natin sa PowerPoint. So let's go on with it, because it is the substantives of the day that we all really came here for. We entitled our presentation Executive Order 60-30-10. And some are already laughing. But that is precisely the thesis of this presentation. It comes with 5 provisions. I'm sorry. It comes with 5 provisions. The first provision of the EO, kilala niyo naman kung sino nag-i-issue ng EO, di ba? Publicize the vote transmission sequence to show the entire counting and consolidation is transparent. And thanks to NAMFREL, this is how they showed us. From the precinct level, there is the official ladderized to the municipal, to the provincial, to the national. All filling up. That's the COMELEC server, that's the website. For purposes of quick look, or what we used to call Operation Quick Count, however, from the PCOS, transmissions were simultaneously being sent to the municipal canvas and to the transparency server, which is in the care of PTCRB. And on goes to the media, to the others, to the watchdogs, and the citizen arm down here. But this is the center of our presentation, okay? The transparency server. As soon as the PCOS machine is finished receiving votes and the voters have all cast their ballot and the closing time takes into effect, they get the election return corresponding to the votes cast in this precinct, all right? And they transmit it to the transparency server and to the municipal server simultaneously. So you would note that there is nothing in between here as far as this chart is concerned. All right? Observations on the transmission sequence. Was this transmission sequence as mandated by the AES law? Now, what does the AES law say? Yes, it is in the 9369, but was reiterated in the 11.2 billion peso appropriation law for 2010 automated election as a colatilia. In other words, it's not only in the law, but it's also in the funding mechanism that this very specific prescription and direction and sequence of transmission transmit to the city and municipal CCS first before to anywhere else. Was this sequence followed, and what were the consequences if it were not followed? The 2010 and 2013 transmissions did not follow this critical rule. If the central gets the ERs first, now here's the problem. Then it's very easy to tamper with one set, with people co-opting or coercing. Well, if the cities and municipalities get the ERs first, then tampering would need tampering 1,600 plus servers to effect fraud in the national contest. Now let us go back to the sequence. The law requires that everything must be first sent here before anything activation results. Why? Because para safe na siya. Because pag manaon na sa iba, baka dito balikan. This is the ladderized system. This is the root of the official election returns. This one. This is just for quick look purposes. Right? So that was not followed. That was not followed. It was not shut to the municipio servers, dito muna natin una nakita sa transparency server.